All right, y'all, what's up? We are back for episode 16 of Love Island Season 7. This one was a good one. We got some connections forming. I'm very proud of Jeremiah. We're going to get to it in a minute. But yeah, if y'all new here, hit subscribe. Do it right now. Free of charge. We on the road to 10K. We are getting very, very close. The views are viewing. Let's make sure the likes free of charge as well. Get down there in the comments. Share the video and make sure those subscribes match the views. Let's do that. But I ain't gonna waste too much time. Let's go. We get back to where we left off, which was where the boys and the girls are getting to know the two bombshells, Andreina and TJ. We find out that Andreina, I believe that's her name. I'm gonna get it right. I might be butchering it right now, but I'm gonna get it right. She graduated 2 weeks ago. As you've seen, if you went looking through her social media like I did, I'm pretty sure y'all did too. Beautiful. But she graduated, so she's beauty brains, as she stated. Jeremiah is asking her what her type is. Like, he's very interested, clearly already. She essentially says, like, chemistry. That's the most important thing for me. Like, I want a spark. Like, I want to feel a spark between us. And she says that's the most important thing. She ends up asking the boys about them. Jeremiah lets her know, my type is foreign and Latina. As we all know, that's his type. He says he wants somebody that's funny and family oriented, and she starts chuckling. Ace is chuckling too, because Ace this is what he wanted. This is what he wanted, and he got it. And she's smirking because it's like, you basically stating everything that I am. But Andreina, she's smirking and stuff, talking about something, you cuffing me, and he's like, but TJ, he's over there talking to the girls, and Iris is feeling him. Like, it's clear as day. I ain't never seen her this giddy since being on the show. But Andreina, she ends up asking Nick if he's closed off. Nick pretty much says, I'm definitely open. Everybody's laughing because he made it seem like, look, no, I'm not closed off. But Nick then says that he has a great connection with Cierra, but he is still open to getting to know other women as well, as you should. It's too early. It's still too early. Even though it's 3 weeks, it's still too early. But Nick then says that he essentially gets nervous around a pretty girl. And then she ends up talking to Nick and Jeremiah. Talking about how Nick and Jeremiah had caught her eye. And she's stating this in her confessionals. But she was sitting there talking about how sexy and fine Jeremiah is. So I said, so Jeremiah is definitely up there at her number one in my mind. So TJ, he's telling the girls that he essentially wants to find his wife in the villa. He wants to find love. He says he's a lover boy at heart. We'll see if that's true. Because TJ is playing around. I ain't going to say playing around. He's doing what he's supposed to do. He's mixing and mingling. He's doing what a bombshell should. Even though on paper he ain't the bombshell that most people wanted, but he's doing what a bombshell should. We'll get to it in a minute though. But he ends up stating that Iris and Cierra caught his eye the most. So then we move to the individual conversations. Andreina and Jeremiah, they start walking off. They look good together. Like, looking at them, they look like they should be together. But Huda is watching them as they're walking over to go have their conversation. And she's trying to act like she's not bothered. But we all know deep down she is. But Jeremiah and Andreina, they're connected on both being family oriented. Her family is essentially all of her family is in the Dominican Republic. She's got a couple family members up here in Jersey with her. But Jeremiah's in his confessionals talking about, like, thank you. I finally got what I wanted. I've been talking about I wanted Latina, and that's my number one. We know, Jeremiah. We know. We know. But she then says that her being a bombshell essentially means she got to go in here and take everybody's man. And she talking about, I'm going to take your man, I'm going to take your man, I'm going to take your man. And he's like, please do. Jeremiah is expressing that interest quick. So we get TJ and Cierra. They're walking to go have a conversation, and they're walking off holding hands. Nick can see it, and he notices it. So he ends up asking, TJ ends up asking her, like, where she's from. She's asked just the normal get-to-know-you questions. And we find out that he's from Tampa. He ended up growing up playing baseball. Cierra, who does just about everything, obviously. But she plays softball. They're connecting on what positions they played. He essentially tells her that she looks even better in person than she did on camera. And Sierra's in her confessional stating, like, he's easy to talk to. He's easy to converse with. They have, like, a good energy, a good vibe going between them. And she's picking up those good vibes, which it seems like she's definitely interested in talking to him a little bit more. She still obviously got connections with Nick, and she is very much interested in him as well. But she's not closing off to actually getting to know TJ, as she shouldn't. But she then tells him that she's open to exploring those conversations and having conversations and exploring whatever connection they might end up having. We move up to Taylor and Olandria upstairs. This is their spot. Every time they have a conversation, they typically are up here. But they're talking about the challenge, and Meg, they didn't start talking about clubbing. And he's talking about he goes to clubs, and she's like, I ain't talking about like country clubs. I'm talking about like clubs. And he's like, yeah, I go to the booty bouncing clubs. And he said, I mean, I ain't out here throwing ass. She said, you could have fooled me. She got the ick last night. Like, I was like, you could see it all over her face, even though she ends up saying she had a face whenever she made it. And like when he's talking to her in this particular conversation, she looked like she's just thinking about stuff. And I'm thinking she's thinking about what she just watched. Which, in my mind, looking at her in the scene, I was like, she might be finally starting to think something about him. And, like, trying to analyze their relationship. Not because of what happened in the dance, but it just looked like she was thinking about them. Like, her facials and her body language in this particular conversation was different than every other one. Like, in every other conversation that they've had, she was very engaged. When I say engaged, her body language was engaged. She was leaning into him like that. She's just sitting straight up looking at him. But her energy on her face was not the same as it normally was. So I was like, she probably got the ick. Wrong. She gets to her confessionals and says every time she talks to him, she feels like they're getting more and more connected. I said, I want her to find somebody. Because Taylor is sitting there as they're having a conversation. It's like he never really looks at her and like never really makes eye contact with her. And I'm like, either it's because he's intimidated by her, or like he said, he's just physically not attracted to her and he's just trying to fake it. But regardless, I don't feel nothing between them, honestly. But Huda ends up asking to pull Pepe for a chat. And she's whispering because they're all downstairs at that little island area in the kitchen. She's sitting there. Pepe comes around her. Hannah is like maybe 2 or 3 seats away, but she can see and hear what's going on. So she's whispering to go have a chat with him. Pepe then walks past Hannah, kind of like touches Hannah just to let her know, like, look, I see what she's doing, but I'm just coming up here to let you know I still see you. But they go upstairs, and they're walking upstairs. They're talking about the bombshells and whatnot, and Taylor and Olandria are still upstairs, and they see them walking, and they're like, where are they going? Where are they going? They going to Soul Ties or they going to Speak Easy? They go to the Speak Easy. So Huda gets in there with him, and she starts talking about when Pepe walked in, he was looking at her a lot, and I was just wanting to know, like, why you never pulled me? Huda, he was probably looking at everybody, but we know how you are. You like to blow shit out of proportion. He probably was looking at every single girl in there. But they're doing all of that, and she ends up asking him, was I ever your type? He's like, attractive is attractive. Like, what's my type is personality. Like, personality is huge for me. He says that Hannah has a bigger personality, and that's not typically what he goes for, but he said he typically goes for what he is, which is calm and relaxed. And she ends up asking him if he's open to getting to knowing other people, and he says he is. And she then starts doing her manipulation tactic. Her manipulation tactic is physical touch. And that physical touch often leads, as you can tell just from the way she acts, it typically leads to physicality with Huda. That's what I can tell. I can tell her strategy when it comes to connecting with people, and it's that physical touch, which then starts to low-key seduce somebody into doing what she wants them to do. And she starts touching on his skin, talking about your skin is soft and yada, yada, yada. I'm like, here we go. But Huda then says that she feels good and it's weird talking to other people. I'm like, yeah, I bet it is because you ain't really done it. But Pepe, she says that Pepe is attractive. She says she loves Hannah and wants to be respectful, but we're all in here to do the same thing. I said, it's funny how you saying that shit now. You got a problem with everybody else doing it with you. But now that you have no other options, you now realize, oh, I'm on Love Island. I have to do what everybody else was in here doing. Crazy how it all works when you don't have options. Well, we got Iris and TJ. They're in Soul Ties having a conversation. And she ends up telling him about how she got paired up with Jeremiah, everything that happened. And she ends up stating that essentially on her end, and she thinks on Jeremiah's end as well, that they just have a friendship connection between the two of them. And I was like, okay, that's interesting. Because it seemed like y'all was open to possibly being more, but it seems like that shut off, which we got it confirmed throughout the rest of this episode. Because if I'm remembering correctly, I don't think they even had any more conversations, truthfully. But TJ ends up stating that he was nervous coming in. He says he's nervous sitting there talking to her right now. And they start asking questions about where they from, the same old normal thing. We find out she's from Calabasas. We ain't heard too much about Iris, and we're starting to hear more about her now. She's from Calabasas. He's like, oh, you got some money. She tried to downplay it, like, oh, we don't really have it like that. Like, I mean, we in the suburbs, but like, it's not what it seems. You in Calabasas, you got some damn money. Stop playing. But she says she likes to spend time at the beach. she ends up asking him what his type is, and he said he bases it off of like vibes and stuff. He says looks aren't everything, but she's actually very attractive, and he tells her that she's attractive. They both start sending each other these little non-verbal cues, but they start talking to each other. When I say sending non-verbal cues, the cues as to kind of like let your guard down. We could possibly end up kissing tonight. That's what I was getting from what they were doing. So they start talking about each other's lips, and that's what I'm talking about. That's a cue. You start talking about how good somebody's lips look. That means you want to go touch them. You want to go kiss them. You want to feel them. So she ends up asking him, right on target, if he kisses on the first day. And he says, like, I mean, if it's there, I'm not going to be out here kissing everybody. But he then tells her that he would kiss her. She says, you would? He said, yeah. And what you think she did? She leaned her ass on in and they started smashing face. So she essentially says to him that was her first kiss outside of the challenge, which it is. Like I said, she seems giddy. She's very interested in him, and it's clear as day. This is the most interest I've seen Iris have in somebody. Like, she's giddy. But we get Andreina and Nick. They're at the dock. They're getting to know each other, same old, like the normal conversations. Nick is speaking in Spanish to her. She likes hearing that. Nick know what he doing. Nick is a smooth criminal, but they're both 24 years old. She lets him know that she's never had a boyfriend at 24. She's sitting there smizing at her. She's a seductress. She knows she look good, and she know what to do. Like, she got them eyes, that eye contact too, and she was looking him straight in his eyes. She know what she doing. But she ends up asking him if he's ever dated a Latina before, and he says that he loves a Spanish girl. In Cierra Spanish, y'all. Because I was like, the way he was acting was like he wasn't really with a Spanish girl, or at least she was acting like he wasn't with one. But I'm like, in Cierra Spanish. But she ends up talking about that. She was like, so I do have a chance. And I'm like, yeah, because he got Cierra right there. But they start talking about Brazil and whatever, and like how cool it is to be in Brazil on New Year's. And Nick starts flirting with her, basically talking about something. What you got planned for this New Year's? Basically saying you're gonna be with me in Brazil. But Nick is in his confessionals talking about how his jaw had hit the floor when she walked in. All of ours, everybody's did. But he talks about how her accent did something to him. He's a sucker for that accent. But Nick then tells her essentially that he thinks that some of the guys are interested in her. She says some. He says most. All of them. But he then tells her that he is attracted to her. And she's like, okay. But everybody's winding down for the night as normal. Huda's upstairs pretty much trying to get in good with Andreina, talking about how good she looks. And I ain't never seen the guys look like, oh my gosh, before. Like, she up there gassing her. And we know deep down inside she is probably tripping out, but she putting on a brave face. I'd rather her do this than to be crashing out calling her a bitch. So I'll take it for what it is. But Nick is in the bathroom with Jeremiah, talking about his conversation with Andreina, saying that she got the most fierce eyes, which she do. Jeremiah then says, yeah, she was looking at me. And they going back and forth. And Nick was like, yeah, she winked at me. And Jeremiah's like, yeah, she probably had something in her eye. I was cracking up. I'm like, Jeremiah trying to claim some territory now. But Cierra is talking about Huda pulling Pepe. And Iris is sitting up there laughing, talking about somebody needed to say that. Somebody needed to mention that. Hannah says that she is annoyed because Huda didn't even talk to her about it first. I said, some girl's girl, right? The one that talks about everybody needing to be a girl's girl. You're not a girl's girl. I would think a girl's girl would approach somebody that she's friends with, that you know she's been dealing with another dude. And I would think if you're going to want to go talk to somebody, if you're going to want to go talk to her dude, you're going to at least address it with her first before you do it. If you're a girl's girl, right? Right, Huda? Funny. Because I know if the shoe was on the other foot, she'd be hot as fish grease. But Pepe is telling Hannah in bed, because they're in bed now. He's telling her in bed that Huda pretty much pulled him for a chat. And she's telling him like how like I was a friend to her. Like I was a friend to her. I was there for her. And that kind of makes me upset. We see a clip of Ace and Chelley. They in bed kissing. I was like, okay. Okay. Boundaries are gone. But Cierra, she's on top of Nick. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Because that was crazy. Crazy. But the next day, everybody's waking up as normal. Shelley, Olandria, they're in there with Cierra. That's essentially the big three this season. But they're in there asking Cierra, how was your night? And she was like, what you mean? Like, did y'all hear something? And Chelley was like, yeah, I mean, shit, I could barely sleep. And Olandria was talking about something. I heard all this breathing and shit, shit every week. But Amaya, she ends up welcoming Andreina to her first morning. Jeremiah ends up coming up he came up them stairs first. He beat every guy up there. We ain't ever seen Jeremiah up there first with breakfast. He brought Andreina some breakfast and he brought Iris some breakfast. I said, oh, wow. 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 But Huda's sitting there looking too. Looking like, well, damn, you ain't never had that sense of urgency with me. You see what happens when you allow a man to actually court you? When you allow him to do it, he can do it. You jumped in too quick. Why would he do it? Shit, you gave him everything he needed immediately. He ain't have nothing to work towards. But Austin then brings Amaya breakfast with no fork. Classic. Which we're gonna get into Austin later on. He pisses me off. You already know that, but he really pisses me off. And if he gonna break Amaya's heart, and it's gonna piss me off. But TJ then brings Iris, Amaya, and Cierra drinks. This is funny. Nick comes up after with Cierra's breakfast and sees that she got another drink up there that he didn't bring up there. And he sees that shit and he says, what the fuck? Hell no. Takes that drink and takes it back downstairs being petty. And they was up there laughing and he goes downstairs and he throws the drink. And Ace talking about something, you petty. I said, yeah, he learned from the best. You. But Nick and Ace, they go upstairs to go have a conversation. And Nick, this is so funny. This is crazy. Nick tells Ace that he wasn't expecting him and Cierra to escalate so quickly, aka them doing the do. So Ace talking about something, you got some cutty last night. I was dying. And that's exactly what it was. But Nick can't even say it without laughing. That's how you know Nick, like, Nick is a fool. He said we was making out intensely and just like after weeks of built up tension, it all came to a head. Now here's where it gets crazy. He said it was the best 25 seconds of his life. Nick, that's insane. That is crazy. Isn't Nick one of the ones that was on the higher end of the body count? And you mean to tell me you can't last more than 25 seconds? I know Cierra looked good, but like, come on. 25 seconds is crazy. And Olandria fans, he can't last 25 seconds with Cierra. You think he's going to be able to last with Olandria? That'll probably be 1 second and he going to bust. Crazy. But Ace is cracking up laughing as he was stating it. But Ace then tells him essentially like emotions are now on a different level now because sex being involved is a different level, which as we all saw with Huda and Jeremiah, that was already on another level before, but it got even worse the more they continue to do it. So everything Ace is saying is true. Nick, that's the thing with Ace. Ace, like I said, he has his moments of maturity. Like Ace has his moments of wisdom. It's just he don't sometimes walk with it. But Nick says that he enjoys being around Cierra because she looks at him like she wants to eat him. And that's a great feeling. Of course it is, because you want somebody that you're interested in to be that physically attracted to you. You want that. Olandria, you hear me? You hear me? Does Taylor look at you like he wants to eat you? No. Wake up, because ain't no man gonna not look at a woman like he wants to eat her. Like, if you really want to eat her, you're gonna want to eat her. And that's telling. That's telling. But he ends up telling him too, like, I'm still not closed off. Even though I'm happy, I'm still not closed off, and I'm actually really happy with her. But he says in his confessionals that last night made him realize, like, we developed and we kind of gotten we got over that hump really, really quickly, and we connected really, really well. But he wanted to take it slow, but he knows that whenever you get physical, you open a whole other door of emotions. But we then get a scene of TJ and Huda, and they're playing ping pong. She's talking about how her type is pretty men, like a pretty boy. And to me, he didn't seem that interested. Y'all tell me if y'all agree. All right, so as they're playing, Iris ends up getting a text. And that text is telling them to stop following the herd in today's challenge. So they got a challenge today. It's called What's Your Beef? I'm like, it's about to get messy. It was light messy. It wasn't as messy as I thought it could be. But maybe we're going to get the mess when it comes to the text, the tweets. The tweets. Y'all know that game. But Chelley is ready for the tea to be spilled. So we get to the challenge. It's called What's Your Beef? Like I said, essentially, I ain't going to go through it. It's these challenges, sometimes the instructions and what they be doing is too much. And when I'm trying to type the notes down, trying to remember, I'm like, man, fuck it. They run through an obstacle course. They got a bunch of different obstacle courses. They get to bob in there and pick a name to go kiss. So it's one of the islanders of their choice. They're going to be paired up in their couple. And they're going to go and pick those people. And they get to kiss them. They go through the obstacle course again. Spit milk in each other's face and in each other's mouth. Absolutely not. I know some people out here are some freaks and like to be spit in their mouth and stuff. This was nasty. But then after that, the couple themselves, they get to finish it off by getting down there on the ground, dry humping and tonguing each other down. So the first couple that we got was Taylor and Olandria. They go first. Taylor chose Andreina to kiss, and he kissed her with way more passion than he's ever done with Olandria. Very telling. I hope Olandria woke up and saw it. Olandria chose Ace. I was shocked she didn't choose Nick. Look, I'm right there with the Nicolandrias. But her and Ace was kissing. Their question was, who do you think has been spreading amok behind people's back? And they chose Jeremiah. And he was like, that's some bullshit. I was like, yeah, why would you choose Jeremiah? Like, spreading muck behind people's back, is that basically stating, like, talking shit? Because Jeremiah don't strike me as the one to talk shit. The one that's really been talking cash shit is Austin, fake ass. Like, they should have threw that shit on him. But they finished it off kissing each other. Austin and Amaya, they go up next. And she chose TJ. Amaya was getting it. He chose Chelley, of course. And their question was, who do you think is the biggest chicken when it comes to commitment? And of course, Amaya said Ace. Duh. And it's true. It is true. Ace is not trying to commit right now. He's 22 years old. And it's like, I can't really fault him for that because he is young. Like, 22 years old, I feel like you shouldn't be locked down in a relationship. You should be out here doing what he's trying to do, having fun, like trying to be in love at 22 years old. If you ain't mentally there, I don't feel like you should be doing it. But she ends up dumping that milk on his head, and you know she was excited to do it. She was excited to do it, and I'm happy she got to do it. But Amaya ends up giving Austin the ride of his life. Like, she gave him... he don't deserve it. That's all I'm going to tell you. He don't deserve it. But Chelley and Ace, they're up next. Chelley chose TJ. He sat her down on his lap and started tonguing her down. Ace, of course, like I told y'all, he got to get a piece of every new thing that walked up in there. He got Andreina and was tonguing her down, licking her all on her neck. He got a taste of what he was looking for. But their question was, who's been planting drama and watching it grow? And Ace said Huda, of course. Of course he said Huda. And it's like, Ace, you should have answered that question for yourself. Because Ace was starting a mess. Even though he been calling it out, but he was starting a mess. But he threw that milk on Huda. Ace and Chelley, they got on that ground. They definitely physically attracted to each other. You can just see it every time they kiss. But she says in her confessionals that she wants to run that back, and he takes her by her neck and runs that back. Runs it back. But Iris and Jeremiah, they're up next. We'll go Iris first. Iris chose TJ. They obviously got chemistry because she wanted that kiss from him early, and I believe he wanted it from her too. So they started tonguing each other down. But Jeremiah chose Andreina. And I was like, yes, sir. Get into it. And he did. He was struggling picking her up, first of all. I don't even want to call it that much of a struggle. He just couldn't really get her up that much. But once he got her on that damn stool, homeboy went to work. He went to work. She was in it too. They got chemistry. They got a spark. And we'll get to it later on. But Huda was talking about he ain't very strong. Huda gonna find a way to stick the knife in one way or the other. But Jeremiah said that their kiss was fire. He ends up saying that he went to pull back, but she pulled him back in too. And he was all in it. He was into it. But their question was who thinks that they're the cream of the crop. They say Taylor. Jeremiah and Iris, they got to kiss in as well. But Pepe and Hannah, they're up next. Hannah chose TJ, of course. Whole phase era. Pepe. I was about to say Pepe. Pepe chose Cierra. That was interesting. To me, it was interesting, but not interesting because it's not surprising because he definitely said when he came in that she was one of his options. But Cierra was surprised. They got chemistry too. Their kids, they got chemistry. Hannah was going at it with TJ. Their question was, who do you think is full of shit? And Hannah ends up throwing the milk on Huda. Accurate. Because she did you dirty, and you was the right person to throw that milk on her to answer that question too. But in which it makes you realize that production probably be setting these questions up to go to certain people. But Huda then says the more she got milk, the more emotional she got because it hurts, even though it is a challenge. I'm pretty sure it does. I'm pretty sure it does because the truth hurts sometimes. It does. And sometimes they're telling you the truth. But Nick and Cierra, they go up next. These two were giving swingers this whole challenge. I'm going to get to it in a minute, though. But Cierra chose Pepe. I said, interesting. He chose you and you chose him. Might be something there. But Nick goes for Andreina, of course. Of course, they had a connection, too. They had, like, some spark, too. But Nick is sitting on, which cracked me and my sister up. Normally, as the man, you're going to put the woman on the barrel and you're going to go to work and let her put them legs around you. Nick sat on that barrel and put his legs around Andreina, but he got a fistful of the cakeage back there. They had some chemistry. They had a lot of chemistry. But Cierra, like I said, her and Pepe, they had some chemistry too. They some freaks. Like the way they was handling that milk, transferring and shit, I say, oh, we know who the freaks are at the bunch. But their question was, who do they want? I said, how? Who do they want to leave the herd, a.k.a. the villa? And they chose Jeremiah. I said, y'all bitched out because y'all know y'all should have said Huda. Because Jeremiah don't be doing nothing to the degree. Jeremiah, I could actually be around. Huda's somebody you can't be around. Huda, she too much. She too much. Jeremiah, he got his ways. And when I say his ways of toxicity, he allows certain shit to happen. But he's calm. Like, he's somebody that you don't necessarily know is there. Huda, narcissist. She got to make sure everybody knows that she's there. So she would have to go. But Huda's up. Huda is single, so she gets to pick who she wants to be her partner, and she chooses Pepe. Hannah. And it's funny because she chose him because she knows what she has to do at the end of the challenge. We'll get to that in a minute. But Hannah didn't look happy. She did not look happy, obviously. But Huda then chooses TJ to kiss. She got her tongue all out. She's been waiting for it. But TJ, he was enjoying the kiss as well. Huda is a freak. The way she was transferring that milk. The way when Pepe threw that in her mouth, spit that in her mouth, it was a clean shot. Nothing was missed. All in the mouth. I said, Huda know what she doing. That's how she had that baby. But their question was, who do you think is making the biggest mistake? And of course she said Jeremiah. So he's making the biggest mistake leaving you? No, he's not. He's making the best mistake, or he's making the best decision for him and you. And the fact that you don't see that is proof of what I've been saying. You need to go home. Like, yeah, trying to get another relationship, trying to get another connection going for Love Island is good. But for you, in your case, it's not good. You got to go home and love Huda first before you get in a relationship. Because it's gonna happen again to the next person. But Huda and Pepe, they tonguing each other down on that ground. And Hannah did not look happy. She did not look happy. Huda was on there grinding on top of him and everything, giving him everything. I said, oh. But TJ, he picks Iris to be his partner. He ends up choosing Cierra to kiss. Interesting. Iris chooses Nick. Also interesting. Nick and Cierra, like I said, they like some swingers because they was going back and forth with all these different people. And then all four of them started switching around too. I was like, yeah, some freaks in here. But their question was, who do you think has been acting too chicken to speak their mind? They chose Hannah. Accurate. Because later on, she still kind of punked out of what she really wanted to say. But Andreina, she was up last. And she chooses Nick to be her partner. I said, oh, I was expecting her to choose Jeremiah, but we'll get to it. But Cierra, this is the one time where Cierra started to look irritated, which I found funny because I'm like, y'all was just kissing any and everybody. But it's Andreina. And Andreina comes with a different type of aura. So, I mean, I guess I get it. But Cierra says that she can can I get one challenge without a girl wanting to come up here and get on top of him? But Nick was cutting up when he picked Iris. When I say cutting up, like he was tonguing her down. Cierra was not liking that. She was not liking it. It was all over her face. She was smiling, but that smile was fake. You could tell it was. But she was like, is this necessary? But Andreina ends up choosing Jeremiah to kiss. And again, heat, chemistry. They got it. She ends up saying that she wanted to see who she was going to connect with. And that's why she made the decisions that she made. Their question was, who do you think is a side chick? When they asked that question, did y'all look at Huda like I did? Huda looked nervous, like she might have possibly been one in the past. That's what I got off of it. I might be reaching, but that's what I got off of it. Y'all tell me if y'all thought the same. But they actually go over there and throw it on Iris. Iris don't understand how she got chosen. I was like, I don't know. But Nick and Andreina on the ground, that's a woman. She took charge. Put his hands, pinned him down to the ground, got on top of him, he was getting his life. And Cierra was pissed. Pissed. But we get back to the villa. Back at the villa, we got Hannah and Pepe. They're upstairs pretty much talking about the challenge. She ends up asking how the kiss with Huda was. And he was like, it was interesting. Like, she put herself in that position, and it pisses me off that she's doing what she's doing to you. But I feel bad for her. But Hannah then says, like, I was trying not to react, but I felt like I need to talk to Huda. We then get a scene with Taylor, Olandria, and Huda talking about her kiss with Pepe. And Huda is telling them that she forgot at the end of the challenge that you make out on the bed when she picked Pepe. You sat there and watched every single couple go. And you mean to tell me that you forgot that you had to do that? That's why I can't get with Huda. Huda, like, stand in it. If you're going to be like that, you need to stand in it. You knew what you was doing. And then she's going to try and act like she's not. That's proof that you're not what you want these girls to be. They're not a girl's girl. They're not a girl. You're not a girl's girl. You know what you're doing. You know what you're doing. And you try to play like you don't. But as Huda was stating that, you look at Taylor and Olandria, they ain't buying none of what she's trying to sell. But Taylor then asked her, like, what did you think about TJ? Like, what you think about him? And she's like, I don't know if I'm his type. And she then says that the only people that she can really talk to is him and Pepe. And Hannah's now pissed, obviously. But Olandria then asked her, have you even had a conversation with her? Did you at least tell her that you wanted to pull Pepe? And Huda says quickly, nope. The look on Olandria's face was like, this is the one that tried to trip out on me about the girl shit. I was like, exactly, Olandria. Olandria looking at her like she lost respect for her. And Olandria tells her, out of respect for Hannah, just let her know up front. Like, it's that simple. If you want people to do that to you and do that for you, why would you not do that for them? Like, that's the thing with Huda. But Huda then says, I don't know how to do it because everybody else is coupled up. I said, now you got an excuse. When everybody else was pulling Jeremiah for chats, you was tripping out. But now that you're on their end, now you got an excuse. But you didn't like theirs. Crazy. That's why I can't get with her. But Ace, Cierra, Nick, and Chelley, they're downstairs talking about it as well. Ace is like, Huda and Pepe surprised him because Huda was going off crying and Hannah was the one that was consoling her. So for her to essentially do that, it's kind of fucked up. Like, she was the only one that was really checking up on her. And he was like, yeah, this is the game at that point. But Nick then says that he's starting to feel bad because it's the entire house versus Huda. It's not the entire house versus Huda. It's the fact that the entire house knows that Huda is unhinged. Y'all walking on eggshells. And now, essentially, at this point, people are starting to finally hold her accountable. That's not the entire house versus Huda. Like, y'all should have sent her ass home. That's just really what it is. But people are actually starting to finally hold her accountable. But he says even though she did things, she's still a girl. She's got emotions. And we saw it today in the challenge. She put her best foot forward. And even when she apologized for pouring milk on Jeremiah, that was growth. She did that shit because she wanted to throw it on him. And she backed it up trying to make it look good by saying she's sorry. No, she did that on purpose. She wanted to do that. Growth from Huda would have been her apologizing to him, Iris, and Amaya for calling them out of their name. That would be growth. That would be growth. Like, Nick, please, save it. But we get Amaya. She's telling the girls that she feels like she found her best friend with Austin. And I wrote here on my note at this moment, I said, I feel like this is leading to her heartbreak. What do y'all think was going to happen? Austin sitting there acting like he's all in it with Amaya, with the boys. And like I said here, I don't believe it. And I got proven right later on. But it's time for the night mingle. Y'all know what we do. So Iris and Amaya, they head off to go have a conversation at the fire pit. And Amaya is pretty much talking about how, like, TJ's probably going to pull you to talk tonight. And Iris is like, I don't think so. Because when I came down here, he didn't even say nothing to me. He didn't even say hey to me. So Amaya's pretty much telling her essentially, like, go try it one more time. Try and see, like, try and let him know that you're interested, or at least show it one more time. And if he doesn't, pull away. Because when you pull away, he might end up pulling forward. But Amaya then says to her that after today's challenge, she feels like her and Austin's chemistry is there and she could have a great time with him outside in the real world. I don't know why Amaya don't see it, though. I don't know why she don't see it. I'm going to be sad when she's heartbroken because you know what's coming. But Austin, he's telling Jeremiah now that Amaya was intense during that challenge. But this is coming from the dude that said that he had 108 bodies. Somebody that fucks that many women, acting like what she did was intense. That's how you know he's lying. That's how you know he's lying. And we knew he was lying when he was talking about he was dominant. Like, somebody that has that many bodies is probably a dominant person. The way he acts in this house does not scream dominance. So things that he says just don't make sense. But Jeremiah says, yeah, she did that because she fucks with you. And Austin's sitting there saying that's not normal. I said, it's not normal for her to give you attention that you wanted from Chelley. You wanted all this attention from Chelley, but now that Amaya is giving it to you, you don't want. Go home. I'm tired of him. Like, go home. He is wasting space. Like, Jalen could be here actually trying to make a connection. Austin finally got somebody that actually is invested in him and actually wants to give him the energy that he so desperately needed and wanted from Chelley, which I don't believe he really did. It was all an act. But you got somebody that is actually pouring into you. And now that's too much. Now that's too much. Even though Amaya is a lot of energy, but she means well. And my thing is, if you know you don't like her, stop leading her on. Like, that's what he's doing. And he got mad at Chelley for essentially doing that to him. But he's going to turn around and do it to Amaya. That's why I don't feel bad for him. The people that got online talking about they feel bad for him because Chelley is playing with him and da-da-da. First of all, he's playing the game too. And then not only that, how you going to feel bad for somebody that doesn't say, like, he full of shit. Full of shit. Like, that should have been thrown, that milk should have been thrown on him. But, Austin then says in his confessionals that he's a good guy with a big heart and he's empathetic. He's never been uncomfortable with a girl before, and being locked in like that in 2 days is freaky to him. Like I just said, you wanted to be locked in with Chelley like that, but now that you are, now it's a problem. But Huda, she then pulls Hannah to have the conversation. She ends up stating to her that she had to pull her because she felt like an asshole. I bet you do. I bet you do. But she then tells, she says to her that she pulled Pepe not to disrespect what they have, but she didn't think about how she probably should have told Hannah, but I'm new to this pulling situation. Like, giving excuses. Giving excuses. Like I said, again, it's just funny how you got excuses now that you're on the opposite end. But Hannah then says, like, I mean, I've also been there for you throughout all your situations. And I was like, why me? Why are you doing that to me? But Huda then says that she feels bad. And Hannah was like, yeah, I know it's hard because I've literally seen things your way, which you know you shouldn't have. You enabled Huda, but now you got egg on your face because she proved to you that she really don't give a fuck about you. But she says, like, I want you to explore your connections, but a part of me hopes that it's not with Pepe, obviously, because that's who she has right now. Do I believe that Hannah really wants to be with him? No. No, but she could because she gave him the cookies. So I don't know. But Huda says that she feels bad. I'm trying to get to know my options now. So, like, what the fuck else am I supposed to do at this point? Like I said, it's funny how the shoe is now on the other foot. But Hannah's in her confessional stating that she says, as her friend, I feel like Huda should have been more genuine and intentional with the way that she moves in this game and how she's moving in this house. But Huda then says, we're still friends. I love you, even though I know this hurts you. Hannah's like, it's okay. It's not okay. And you know it's not okay. And you know you're not okay. Like, what? All right, so we get scenes between Cierra and TJ and Andreina and Nick. Essentially, both of them were having connections, good conversations. Both were kind of like teasy flirting with each other. And I'm not going to really break too much down because it was kind of similar to what they were talking about before. They were still getting to know each other and stuff, kind of relating on certain things. Andreina and Nick, they were more flirtatious, and you can tell already. Cierra and TJ, they're kind of like teetering on that flirtatious vibe. The way they edited this makes me think something's going to end up happening. I feel like Sierra's probably going to stray and get with TJ because I feel like Andreina, which we see later on, got her eyes somewhere else. But I don't know. Y'all tell me what y'all think is going to happen because the way they edited this, going back and forth, and then the way they finished their little segment was interesting to me. But we're going to move past that. We got Huda. She in the kitchen with TJ, slick trying to flirt with him. And she says in her confessionals that flirting is fun and she misses flirting. So they head up to Soul Ties, and she ends up asking him if he's ever been to Soul Ties. And he was like, yeah, I have. And she's like, oh, well, somebody else broke your Soul Ties virginity and it wasn't me? It wasn't me? I. But they start talking about the challenge and whatnot. They tell each other that they're both good kissers and whatnot. And she then starts touching his face. Again, manipulation tactic. Like, once she gets that physical touch, that's usually her MO. But they start talking about pretty much wanting to pull each other for chats. tomorrow. So it seems like Huda is interested in getting to know him. TJ, in my opinion, he didn't seem that interested, if you asking me, even in this conversation, even though he was giving her more. I feel like he's more interested in Cierra and Iris than he is her. But I really feel like now he's more interested in Cierra. At the beginning, I felt like it was Iris, but towards the end, he's seemed like he all in Sierra's basket. But Austin and Amaya, they're sitting down having a conversation, and she ends up asking him if he feels uncomfortable with her calling him babe. He says no, pulls her in for a hug, and says, I know you're an affectionate person. But she was just mad. I don't want to say mad, but she was just disgusted, basically, telling Jeremiah that she's too much. But you sitting here pulling her in, giving her a hug. What do you think that's doing? That's sending mixed signals. So she didn't ask him because she's like, I know you're the type of person to speak up when something makes you uncomfortable. And he's like, yeah, I would. I'm like, so why are you not saying what you were saying to Jeremiah? But she didn't ask him. She was like, is there anything that I've done that makes you feel uncomfortable? And he's like, I love your energy, but I'm just not used to it yet. And then he ends up kissing her on the head. I said, why didn't you tell her what you just told him earlier? Why didn't you tell her that she might be a little bit too much for you? You said like the whole like energy and stuff, you're not used to it. But the way you was talking to Jeremiah, you made it seem like she was too much and you wanted to pull away. That's basically what you were saying to him. But you gave her a completely different story. Like, I can't stand Austin. I want him gone. But Jeremiah and Andreina, they are the final scene. They're up in Soul Ties. I already knew what was going to go down. So he's asking her about her morning and stuff. And you can see all over Jeremiah's face. He is excited to have that woman in his face. And she is too. But she ends up stating that she was excited to start the day. The challenge was fun. She was looking forward to getting to know him more. She talks about them kissing multiple times. She ends up asking him, like, what are you looking for in a woman? He says, right now, I want to start off with a best friend. I was like, wow. And he was like, somebody to laugh with. I said, he actually learned from his experience in real time. Huda has not. Jeremiah has. Because he was trying to do that with Huda after too late. He was too late. But at least here he started with it. And I was like, he actually learned from his experience in real time. That is how you know Jeremiah actually self-reflects. That therapy that he talks about is being proven that it's actually effective because he actually has realized the mistake that he made in this game and actually changed it. And then applied it in the next connection. And it looks like it's going to work well right now. We'll see how long it lasts, but it looks good. But they're doing all of that. She's stating that you're laughing right now because he said that he wants somebody that makes him laugh. And she's like, you're laughing right now. Basically like me, I'm having you laughing like I'm funny. And they both start laughing or whatever. And she's like, what else do you like? Because I hope you're more picky than that. And he was like, yeah, I am picky. I've only been in one relationship at 25 years old. So, I mean, that should tell you that I'm picky. So she then tells him that she's never had a boyfriend. He sat up like, wow, you ain't never had a boyfriend. And I'm like, yeah, because I'd have been looking like that too. Because like, look at her. You would think many of dudes would be trying to come for her and she would find somebody that would fit. But as she stated, she said, I'm not the type of person to just do like one night type of situations, aka I'm not the type of person to waste my time. Like she doesn't want to. She said, if I don't feel myself fully invested in somebody, I'm not gonna engulf myself in a relationship. I feel her on that. I do, because I don't like wasting my time either. I don't like wasting my time, and I don't like wasting other people's time either. But they're talking and stuff, and he's just taking her in. You can see it, like they're making eye contact. She's blushing. He ain't never looked this interested so far this season. And she ends up telling him that he's checking off a lot of things on her list. And she says in her confessionals that she likes him. She likes his look. She likes his humor. She likes his personality. She likes his values. She's just going and going and going, which lets you know she is really feeling him. So one thing leads to another. They sitting there gazing in each other's eyes, looking back like this, looking at each other. And what you think happened? They started going at it. Kissing, biting lips. That's some chemistry. That's a spark. Good for Jeremiah. I'm happy for him. She and their bombshelling, and it's gonna be interesting. But as y'all know, there's a vote. I will not be partaking in the vote. I don't like voting for reality TV stuff because I watch too much reality TV. I know a lot of shit is rigged. But if you are voting, go ahead and vote. My bottom three would be Hannah, Huda, and Iris, and Austin, Pepe, and Taylor. That would be mine. But y'all let me know what y'all think down below in the comments. Thumbs up the video if you haven't already. Subscribe if you haven't already. If you're new, do that. If you think you're subscribed, check too, because YouTube apparently be unsubscribing people. Also, make sure your notifications are on. Also, you'll be notified when I do post. But yeah, I'm going to see y'all on Sunday. Peace.